I have one letter of support that I need a consensus for. It is a letter of support for House Bill 1532, which is the Utility Relief Act. This requirement that counties allow remote inspection of installed solar panels if average inspection times exceed 5 days over a 12-month period. It disregards firefighter and resident safety. We are recommending a letter of support with amendments to clarify that recommendations on a state level zoning or permitting structure be developed in consultation with county planning and permit officials. Just need a general consensus.
Okay with me. Yep.
Okay.
Good.
Lastly, I want to recap information related to the federal government's purchase of a warehouse on Wright Road in Williamsport, Maryland. Washington County government was not involved in the site selection process and was not consulted by the federal government or the private entity involved in the sales transaction of this existing structure. This is now a property owned by the federal government. As such, Washington County government has no jurisdiction. We are not the governing body that will be overseeing this project. Those with comments or concerns should reach out to their congressional representatives, which would include Congresswoman April McClaney Delaney, Senator Angela Alsobrooks, and Senator Chris Van Hollen. Any action taken by Washington County would require a legal opinion and interpretation of the potential liability of all parties involved, both for the county and personally for individuals taking potentially adverse actions against another organization. Additionally, a legal opinion and interpretation would be needed regarding the hierarchy and interactions between local, state, and federal government authority and jurisdiction, all of which we're not able to comment on at this time. A resolution was adopted by the Board of County Commissioners on February the 10th, 2026. The resolution expresses general support for the Department of Homeland Security, United States Immigration and Customs Enforcement, and local law enforcement agencies in their roles related to public safety and encourages cooperation across all levels of government. Washington County announces that on March the 16th, the Board of County Commissioners held their first meeting with the Department of Homeland Security. Prior to that meeting, we had no contact with them and no prior knowledge of anything going on with this particular project. Additional details that were announced include that this meeting marked a significant step towards enhancing knowledge sharing and opened the lines of communication regarding the Immigration and Customs Enforcement Facility in Washington County, Maryland. This first meeting brought together key subject matter experts, the county, and DHS leadership. During the meeting, Washington County officials addressed a variety of topics, including aspects regarding the community concerns and concerns regarding the impact on local resources. I also wanted to confirm that President Barr made statements to the media on the evening of March the 16th related to discussions regarding the county's request for a pilot or a payment in lieu of taxes. Federal government agreed to make the county's tax revenue whole. No further information is available while contract negotiations take place between our county attorney and Department of Homeland Security. DHS officials indicated on March 16th that the new facility will be a processing facility and the new facility is not a detention center. The new facility was described as a booking facility where detainees would be brought for intake processing and could open up approximately 1,125 jobs. Detainees would stay at that facility for an average of 3 to 7 days, after which they would be transferred to a detention center out of state for long-term needs. DHS anticipates that about 500 beds would be in use on any given day. However, the facility would be sized for 1,500 beds, so utilization could be higher at times, although it is unlikely to occur. President Barr addressed humane treatment of detainees. DHS officials expressed their desire to dispel negative comments with regard to humane treatment of detainees in their facilities. DHS facilities have the highest detention standards in the country for housing, medical, and other needs. The facility will have a full complement of on-site medical staffing and will provide ancillary services. The facilities will be audited on a regular basis, both monthly and annually, for various standards by an independent third party who reviews the services that are being provided. Performance-based national detention standards being monitored include nutritional and hygienic standards for food storage and meal preparation, medical care and screenings, recreation and religious freedom, confidential access to legal counseling as well as their families, safety and sanitation of living conditions, and grievance mechanisms. Water and wastewater, DHS. The county also addressed infrastructure needs related to the facility, much like we do with state officials regarding water and wastewater, as well as transportation needs. DHS indicated that they have contracted with KVG LLC to renovate the facility in Washington County, Maryland. KVG is now responsible for all engineering and construction work related to the project, including assessment of water and wastewater capacity and infrastructure needs. Once the engineering evaluation is completed, KVG will be in contact with the City of Hagerstown for water service needs and Washington County government for wastewater service needs. If the engineering evaluation determines additional capacity is needed for facility operations, DHS officials indicated that the federal government will pay any fees required for additional water or wastewater capacity, and DHS officials indicated that the federal government will pay any required infrastructure improvements needed for the Wright Road sewage pump station. If additional water and wastewater capacity is needed, KVG is also responsible for providing a temporary solution for meeting the facility's water and wastewater needs until infrastructure improvements are made. As far as impact on local resources, the facility will have a full complement of medical staff, including doctors and nurses, to provide around-the-clock 24/7 care for detainees. DHS officials indicated that the facility will handle medical needs in-house or through a private contractor so as not to overburden local resources. Additionally, security for the facility will be provided by the Federal Protective Services. Officials from DHS welcomed the open dialogue between our agencies and expressed a desire to maintain ongoing communication and collaboration. Future meetings have not been scheduled at this time, and the County Commissioners of Washington County are committed to ensuring that residents have all available information as it becomes available. We also understand that a meeting was held yesterday that was scheduled by Congresswoman April McClain Delaney by invitation only. The Board of County Commissioners was not invited to that roundtable discussion of community leaders. And that's everything that I have for today.
Okay, point of clarification. On the March 16th meeting, it was stated at the Board of County Commissioners, it wasn't the full board. It was only, were you able to name the people who attended that meeting?
I sure can. So the attendees of that meeting were Commission President John Barr, myself as the County Administrator, Zach Kiefer, our County Attorney, Sheriff Brian Albert, and Colonel Pete Lazich.
Thank you.
Okay. Next on the agenda is the public hearing, but that's not scheduled to 9:30. So we need to make sure that we hold off till exactly 9:30. Can we move forward on any of the other agenda items prior to the next 15 minutes?
If the Red Cross is here, we could do that. I'm not sure if they're here yet.
I don't think anyone's here from Red Cross. I don't see.
Let's take a recess.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing else, I guess. So
Recess.
We'll just take a recess.
Okay, take a recess.
Yeah.
In light of the fact it's almost 15 minutes of recess, I'm going to have to ask, I guess, we clear the room. Okay. We'll reconvene at 9:30 for the public hearing. public hearing, application for zoning map amendment, RZ 25-010. And I have a statement to read here. The purpose of this hearing is to hear public testimony concerning the matter. The procedure is as follows. Staff will introduce the matter. Next, the applicant, having the burden of proof, will present their application and evidence. Following the applicant's presentation, the hearing will be open for public comment and testimony. Each speaker will be given a maximum of 3 minutes to testify. Testimony shall be limited only to proposed map amendment. Testimony that is not relevant to the map amendment or that which is repetitive, disruptive, or otherwise impedes the orderly conduct of this public hearing will not be tolerated. Unauthorized remarks, loud noises, whistles, yells, or similar disruptions from the gallery shall not be permitted. Anyone who fails to follow these rules forfeits their opportunity to testify and will be asked to return to their seat or leave the meeting. Once public comment has concluded, the hearing will close. There shall be no donating of or pooling of time to allow any one person to speak longer than 3 minutes. After everyone wishes to speak has done so, the hearing will close. The commissioners may then discuss the issue and provide direction to staff. Would everyone who plans to testify today, will you please stand to take the oath?
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm, under the penalties of perjury, that the responses given and the statements made will be the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
With that, I'm going to ask Kayla Shingleton, Comprehensive Planner, Planning and Zoning, will now introduce the matter.
Is your microphone on?
Oh, there we go, sorry. This is RZ 25-10. This is a rezoning text amendment for the property at 20511 Leitersburg Pike for applicants David and Jessica Testa. The property is a 29-acre parcel zoned agricultural rural, only 3 acres of which are subject to the rezoning. This rezoning will be an expansion of an established rural business which sits in front of the proposed rezoning. The proposed rezoning will be used as a display and storage lot for the already existing trailer sales on the abutting property. The rural business zoning district is established to permit the continuation and development of businesses to support the agricultural industry and farming community, serve the needs of the rural residential population, provide for recreation and tourism opportunities, and to establish locations for businesses and facilities not otherwise permitted in the rural areas of the county. It is established as a floating zone which may be located on any parcel in agricultural, environmental, conservation, preservation, or rural village zoning district. The factors to be considered in a request for the creation of a new RB zoning district are listed in Article 5E of the Washington County Zoning Ordinance. RB districts must designate a specific type of land use they wish to pursue at the location in the application materials and demonstrate the proposed use will be compatible with the existing neighborhood which surrounds it. Based on staff analysis in the applicant's justification statement, staff believes there is sufficient evidence the criteria outlined in Article 5E of the zoning ordinance has been met for the application of a rural business floating zone to the subject area. This rezoning was presented to the Washington County Planning Commission at a public information meeting held on during the regular meeting on December 1st, 2025. At that meeting, the members unanimously recommended in favor of the proposed map amendment. There has been no public comments have in favor or opposition of this proposal. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next, we will now hear from the applicant's case in chief.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Mr. Wantz, how are you?
Thank you. Very well, thank you. My name is William C. Wantz. My office is at 123 West Washington Street here in Hagerstown. I just walked across the street this morning, and we're here on.
Can you speak into the microphone?
Is that better? Oh, I'm sorry, it was turned off. Now it's back on. Is that better?
Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
My name is William C. Wantz. I represent Mr. and Mrs. David Testa. They're with me this morning. Also with me this morning is Aaron Schroyer. Mr. Schroyer, he's the owner of the subject property. Mr. Schroyer is the owner of a farm I'll go through the exhibits momentarily. He has been leasing part of his farm, an amount of land comprising 3 acres that sits right behind this existing trailer dealership. This type of trailer is the type that farmers would use, people with landscaping businesses would use. It's currently zoned AR, but we've applied to, the farm is currently owned AR. The trailer business is currently zoned RB. It was zoned RB several years ago in the comprehensive RB rezoning. We're now looking to expand that. Mr. Testa will testify this morning of the success that he's had in the business. And what I want to do in my brief presentation this morning is to go over the handout in the exhibits that will ask to be admitted into the record. Formally, I would ask that our justification statement, our application, all the attachments to the justification statement and application are offered into evidence. I ask that they be marked and so admitted. I'll go through those briefly. And I would say, I've been sworn and I would indicate that all of the factual statements in the application are true to the best of my knowledge, information, and belief. If you look at the packet, on the application, the first page, we're only dealing with 3 acres. It's zoned AR. It'll be rezoned, if you so determine, to RB. That's a floating zone, so we don't have to show any change or mistake criteria as we would in non-floating zone rezonings. The owner's representative affidavit is present. As far as compatibility, Mr. Schroyer owns property both behind and on both sides of this 3-acre tract. And of course, the Testas own the property that comprises the existing dealership in the front. So it's surrounded on all 4 sides by property that's compatible and supportive of this application. Next is the justification statement. This includes all of the criteria necessary for you to approve an RB floating zone under the pertinent provisions of the zoning ordinance. Next, I want to go through and highlight some of the exhibits. First of all, the current comprehensive plan is consistent with this undertaking. Economic development strategies needed to sustain and expand existing businesses are among the economic strategies in the adopted plan. And the plan specifically places emphasis on, and I quote, increasing efforts to retain and expand existing business. This is right in the heart of this rezoning. Next is the drawing by Lee Royer showing the existing area in crosshatched and the proposed addition to the rural business district zoning in the back. That's the 3-acre parcel. This was originally a used car dealership. That's how it became RB initially. The next is the chart showing all of the other businesses, including Myers Motors, that were rezoned to RB in the 2014 comprehensive zoning. Next are a map and enlargement showing the neighborhood, and we would ask that the neighborhood consist of the linear village the linear commercial and mixed commercial development along that segment of Leitersburg Pike in about a half a mile in each direction. Next, you'll see a picture showing where the Testas property sits, and behind that, and to both sides, the Schroyer farm. Next is a property graphic showing the Schroyer farm in the context of the Freedom Trailers business along the Leitersburg Pike. Next are two photographs showing the existing lot, and you'll see the open field in the back there. That's the area of rezoning, back approximately the tree line. The rest of the photos depict the commercial character of the neighborhood in which the proposed rezoning is requested. And finally, in the packet, representative sampling of some of the typical customers taken from Mrs. Testa's assemblage of business cards over the years. So with that, I'll ask Mr. Testa to testify briefly, if I may. Mr. Testa, have you been sworn? You sworn in?
Yes, sir.
And hold the microphone a little closer. State your full name.
David Paul Testa Jr.,
And where do you live?
20523 Leitersburg Pike.
And do you also own a business property there?
I do, right next door to it.
All right. And you lease that property, I should say, you own a business next door?
Lease the property behind it?
No, you own the business now and the property.
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry, excuse me. And you're proposing to subdivide and purchase 3 acres from Mr. Schroyer?
Yes, sir.
Is that as shown on the drawing that's been submitted into evidence
Yes, sir.
for the lawyer? What brought you to this point of wanting to acquire that property?
The business expanded.
And explain the expansion, explain the success that you've had.
It's been phenomenal. I appreciate the area and everything that it's given us.
What types of customers do you have in the community?
Man, all kinds.
Some of them serve the agricultural and rural communities.
Absolutely.
If you're able to get this property rezoned, is it your intent to subdivide it and purchase it?
Yes, sir.
Has there been any opposition from any of your neighbors?
Nope, I don't believe so.
Does Mr. Schroyer support this rezoning?
Absolutely.
Are you planning any new buildings or structures at the present time?
At the present time, no.
And I think that's all we need to put into the record. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Is that it, Mr. Wantz? Okay, we'll now open the hearing for public comment. Please come forward as your name is called. First on the list is Curtis Ray.
Hello, I'm Curtis Ray. I live in Hagerstown, Maryland. I think this is a good idea to allow.
May I object on standing record?
Can you stop my time real quick? What?
Mr. Wantz, the record will be noted that of your objection. Thank you.
I need like 10 seconds, if you don't mind.
You may proceed.
All right. So I want to say that I am actually for the rezoning, and the reason being is as people that have owned small businesses, you understand that it is extremely hard to acquire any form of real estate at a decent price. And then on top of that, they're already an established business. Who wants to leave your roots to go buy a commercial property or a heavy industrial property or any industrial property just to move what you already have? I think it's a good idea to allow the rezoning, and these small businesses are our lifeblood. Most small businesses do not have the capital to just go out and acquire massive amounts of real estate or have that type of liquidity to buy them. And because of that, I would say I'm a very large advocate for this. I think you should do it. There's no real reason not to, and it would make business a lot easier for the individual that's going for the acquisition of it. And then on another note, I also think you guys need to kind of address the fact that utilities are getting outrageous in the county. There's no reason that you guys should not have made a proclamation about it. People are drowning in their electrical bills. They're drowning in their wastewater bills.
Mr.
Their
Ray.
water bills.
Mr. Ray, you've gotten off topic here. We understand you're for this applicant. We're not going to get into a discussion about utilities and other things that are. Mr. Ray, I'm going to ask you to step away from the microphone.
You're not allowing them to voice.
Please turn the microphone off.
You're doing nothing but causing a ruckus in this fact that you're preventing people from speaking, preventing them from being.
Mr. Ray, you're out of order. And I'm going to ask you one more time to step away from the microphone.
No.
Okay.
That's pretty simple.
I'm going to ask you to leave. Deputy, I'm going to ask Mr. Ray to leave the podium.
Having a voice. It's not that hard to allow people to speak for 3 minutes.
Okay, next on the list is Sean Porter.
Do I have to state my name for the record?
Please.
My name is Sean Porter.
Mr. President, objections to standing this.
Noted, Mr. Watts, thank you.
I don't understand why I don't have standing to make a public comment about rezoning in Washington County. Could you please clarify why you're objecting to me speaking?
No special agreement.
So this guy objects to no reason? Okay, well, anyhow, fuck yeah, I'm for this. I actually have, I believe, visited the trailer dealership in question. I think that it is a great fucking location for trailers, and they should be able to expand their operation. I don't see why the government should say no in this case. I also think that we, like the previous speaker, should in fact bring back public comment and should investigate your child molestation allegations to the fullest.
Okay, Mr. Porter, I'm going to ask you to step away from the microphone. Your comments,
Back on topic?
no, you're finished.
Oh, I'm finished. You didn't give me a chance to get back on topic.
No, you
cut me off preemptively.
You've been warned, Mr. Porter.
When was I warned? It's on record that I wasn't warned. I was objected to by Mr. Wantz over here. So anyway, I get to get back on
Ask him
topic
to
now.
leave.
You know the procedure.
I'm going to ask you,
I'm gonna get back on topic.
no, I'm good.
What?
You're finished. I said,
I can't hear you.
as the presiding officer, I said you are finished. Please step away from the microphone.
You
need
were
to ask
supposed
him
to
to
warn me
leave.
first, and you
I
didn't.
need-
So you can't do that. You have to let me get back on topic.
you
So
can-
back to the zoning.
You continue to argue with me. I'm going to ask you to leave the chambers.
I would benefit greatly from this
Deputy,
zoning map amendment change. What, you're gonna cut me off?
you have been cut off.
I have not been cut off. I'm standing here talking. Obviously, I'm not cut off.
Get the
Ask the
deputy
deputy.
moving.
I'm going to ask you one more time, very politely,
You already asked him to leave.
to leave.
Okay, so back to the zoning
Leave.
map amendment.
Turn the microphone on.
It is off. What was that? Who did? You're telling me you give me a lawful order? Will I get arrested if I ignore your lawful order? My God, the tyranny of Commissioner John Barr does not stop ever. You just mentioned child molestation allegations and it goes completely insane.
Okay, that concludes the public hearing, and, I'm sorry? Okay, thank you, sir. That does conclude the public hearing. Commissioners, your comments and thoughts. Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Sorry, Commissioners, just a quick clarification. This next portion is if the Commissioners have any questions for staff or applicant prior to deliberation.
None for me.
I have no questions.
No question.
Okay, sorry, got a little unnerved there.
Close the hearing. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm good.
Okay, now the public hearing is concluded. Recommendations?
Motion to support?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for support. You're ready to vote? All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, 4-0. Thank you.
Congratulations, thank you.
Thank you. Congratulations, and the best to your business.
Sorry, President Barr, just a quick note of clarification. There will be a written decision brought back for formal adoption by the board at a later date.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, let me get my bearings here straight. Next up, under tab 2, is the American Red Cross Month proclamation. And I think we have some folks here from Red Cross.
Thank you, Commissioners. We appreciate the opportunity to appear before you today. March is Red Cross Month. Our American Red Cross was founded, it's almost 150 years ago in 1881, and our local chapter here in Washington County was founded, as many chapters were, during the First World War when the United States entered that war in 1917. Our initial meeting was at the Maryland Theater when it was still a vaudeville active theater. And since that time, we have continued to grow and expand. And now we, in addition to Washington County, have grown to include a 12-county chapter area. And the chapters changed name from the Washington County chapter to the Greater Shenandoah Valley chapter. We are the northernmost part of the chapter with our service center out on the east end of town off Eastern Boulevard behind CRS at Conrad Court. We also have a large service center down in Winchester, Virginia. Service the Panhandle of West Virginia, and then both Shenandoah Valleys down to Luray and Woodstock, Virginia on those rivers, and then over into West Virginia to Moorfield on the south branch of the Potomac and Romney over there. Our chapter continues to provide great service here in the area. We really just appreciate the opportunity to be here. I'm Al Martin, Vice Chair of the chapter, so that's why I'm here today. And with me is Giera Ortiz. She's one of our board members, and we're just so fortunate to continue to have great volunteers, both on our board, our blood services, our disaster action teams that continue to respond to both local fires as well as national disasters. So we appreciate the opportunity to be with you this morning.
Thank you, Al. Would you like to say anything?
Oh, no. My name is Giera Belén Ortiz, and I'm a board member, as Al said, and we really appreciate you having us here today, and we look forward to continue contributing to our community and providing the services as the American Red Cross has been doing. So thank you so much for having us today here.
Is there a name synonymous with Red Cross named Claire Barton?
Yes, and we have the distinction of one of her, I'll just call it events that helped her post-Civil War. When she was at Antietam, she was assisting Union troops on the battlefield. And there's a monument there, Commissioner Klein. I know you were just down there this past week. I saw your selfie post.
Well, we had a dedication back, I think, September 2012, honoring Red Cross and Claire Barton.
That was on the 100th anniversary of that wonder, that situation there, and it was a rededication of an earlier monument that was done in 1962, and we rededicated it at 150 years.
I didn't do a selfie this year, but while I was down there at the monument, a gentleman who was back there in 2012 as a speaker was there with his grandson and soon-to-be granddaughter-in-law, and he was telling me how he remembered the event and brought his grandson there to revive and bring back that memory at the monument there at the battlefield.
Thank you for sharing that. We are very fortunate that Clara had those great experiences, and it led her to then, after the war, help find and locate missing soldiers. And then she ended up going to Europe in the 1870s and met Henri Dunant, who was the founder of the International Red Cross. And for many years after that, then lobbied the President and U.S. Congress to create a Red Cross chapter here in the United States. First big thing they got involved in was shortly after that in 1889, I believe, the major Johnstown flood that almost 3,000 people lost their lives in that. But Red Cross has been involved in disaster relief since that time, service to military families, and our blood services is a more recent thing that started during World War II to make sure that our communities had an adequate blood supply.
Very good.
I'm particularly honored to be here this morning and present a proclamation from my fellow commissioners, but it would be inappropriate if I didn't mention my father for years was quite involved with Red Cross. He was president, chairman of the board numerous times, did all the training for disaster relief, and then my sister Julie was executive director locally for, 35 years?
Yes.
Probably the longest serving executive director known, maybe, I don't know.
She's the longest I'm aware of. I know I started as a volunteer. It's hard to believe this summer it'll probably be 50 years. But Julie was I remember right out of college as a social worker, and then later became our executive director, and just was instrumental in doing so much both in our county and throughout the region.
Okay, you'll come up to the flag. Presentation here, and then we'll go to the center and get pictures. So again, on behalf of my family and my fellow commissioners, I'd like to present this proclamation of American Red Cross Month, March 2026. Whereas during American Red Cross in March, we recognize the compassion of the people of Washington County and reaffirm our commitment to care for one another in times of crisis. Whereas this generous spirit is woven into the fabric of our community and advances the humanitarian legacy of American Red Cross founder Clara Barton, one of the most honored women in our country's history, who nobly dedicated herself to alleviating suffering. And whereas today, kind-hearted individuals in our community exemplify Barton's commitment as they provide a beacon of hope for our neighbors in need through their voluntary and selfless contributions. They make a life-saving difference in people's darkest hours, whether it is delivering shelter, food, and comfort during disasters, providing critical blood donations for hospital patients, supporting military families, veterans, and caregivers throughout the unique challenges of service, saving lives with first aid, CPR, and other skills, or delivering aid and reconnecting loved ones separated by global crisis. And whereas the Red Cross assists families impacted by a disaster such as a home fire or flood, installs free smoke alarms making homes safer, educates students in preparedness education, collects blood at local drives, and provides services to our military members, veterans, and their families. Therefore, we, the Board of County Commissioners of Washington County, Maryland, hereby recognize the month of March as American Red Cross Month in honor of all those who lead with their hearts to serve people in need, and we ask everyone to join in this commitment to strengthen our community.
Commissioner, thank you so much. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Up front for the
Yes, and let me take a moment. She's running, actually on time, but I know you were running a little ahead. Let me introduce Deborah Fleming, our Executive Director.
Do you want to make any comments? Just grab the microphone.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for having us here today. I would like to acknowledge the 60 volunteers in Washington County that help us with our mission to alleviate human suffering in the face of disasters. And it's really, I think you could be really proud of your community for having those 60 volunteers who not only help Washington County, but spread across county lines and state lines as well. Sorry, I'm out of breath. In Washington County alone, our volunteers have responded to 32 fires last year and have responded to 68 disaster operations. We provided over 3,608 life-saving blood collections and have provided over 101 services to our military and their families. We've also installed 163 alarms in 69 homes, making 69 homes safer, and have trained over 2,250 people in life-saving skills. So these are the volunteers that do this, and I just really appreciate you recognizing them during Red Cross Month. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Let's redo the pictures in
Take
front of the
the
flags.
picture at the flag.
Flag, okay. Okay, great. Good, Deborah. This is good.
Now,
Okay. There we go. Thank you, John.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your comments. Strasburg.
Me too.
Oh, come on. Yeah. Thank you so much, everyone.
Okay, let me. Okay, the next item on the agenda under tab 3 is National Agricultural Day Proclamation.
Morning, Commissioners. Jonathan Horowitz, the Director of the Department of Business and Economic Development.
Kelsey Cadle, Agricultural Business Specialist.
Good morning, Commissioners. We're here today to accept a proclamation recognizing and honoring that today is National Agriculture Day. Agriculture remains one of Washington County's most historic, diverse, and economically significant industries, supporting our local economy, strengthening food security for our citizens, and sustaining the rural character that defines our community. Today, we want to honor our agriculture community, our farms, agribusinesses, and farm families who produce the food we rely on every day and operate a thriving industry in Washington County. While the farms of Washington County are beautiful and literally nationally award-winning, they are not just for show. Our farms are businesses too, and they play a vital role in the county's economic success. I'd like to thank Kelsey Cadle, our agriculture business specialist, for her exceptional work and leadership in promoting and supporting Washington County's farming community. Kelsey is currently spending much of her time working with our state and federal agriculture partners to ensure that future legislation is created to bolster and protect our farm operations. And finally, I'd like to mention and thank and recognize Chris Boggs, our county's land preservation planner. Chris works to create the balance between strengthening agriculture businesses and preserving our working landscapes through the county's ongoing land preservation efforts. Thank you for supporting our department's efforts and for recognizing today as National Agriculture Day with this proclamation.
Thank you. Thanks for all you do and the support of the farmers throughout our community. We're quite well known in Washington County, particularly for our dairy farms, but there's all kinds of farms, so.
Thank you, guys.
Doing quite well. We do have a proclamation. Anybody have any volunteers?
Sure. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Proclamation National Agriculture Day. Whereas agriculture remains one of Washington County's most historic, diverse, and economically significant industries, providing essential products, stewarding natural. And National Agriculture Day serves as an annual opportunity to recognize and celebrate the contributions of farmers, agribusinesses, producers, educators, and agriculture-related organizations across the nation. And the Board of County Commissioners recognizes the agricultural community for continuing to strengthen our local economy, support food security, and preserve the working landscapes that make our community unique. Washington County Department of Business and Economic Development is committed to supporting and advancing the agricultural industry and proudly recognizes the exceptional work and dedication of Kelsey Cadle, agricultural business specialist whose leadership, creativity, and community-focused efforts have significantly enhanced agricultural promotion, strengthened stakeholder engagement, and elevated the visibility of Washington County's farming community. We, the Board of County Commissioners of Washington County, Maryland, hereby recognize March 24th, 2026 as National Agriculture Day and encourage all residents to join in the celebration and support our local farming operations. Awarded this 24th day of March 2026, signed by all the county commissioners. Thank you very much.
Okay, 1, 2, 3. Thank you. I don't want to.
Thank you, Jonathan. Good job.
Okay. 1, 2, 3. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, next up is under tab 4, FY27 highway budget. Gentlemen?
Good morning, Commissioners. Andrew Eshelman, Director of Public Works.
Good morning, Zane Rao, Deputy Director of Highways.
We're here to review the proposed FY27 highway budget, which totals $15.1 million. As many of you know, the Highway Department is responsible for maintaining the county's road system, which includes patching, roadside mowing, ditch clearing, winter maintenance, line striping, pavement marking, signal maintenance. We also do fleet services for the county. So that's what we're here to talk about today, which is the operating budget. I think it's important to remember that the highway fund is a fund, and so there's revenues and expenses, and that on the revenue side, as many of you have been here before, we like to keep this at the forefront. The highway user fund used to predominantly be the mechanism by which this was paid for, and since 2009, that has no longer been the case. And the highway fund, again, is the share of state highway user revenue is the state levied vehicle taxes and fees that are then distributed to the counties and municipalities. And so since that reduction, it's predominantly been funded by the county general fund. And so each year we keep that as a priority at the state level to restore those funds in a more equitable manner. And so it's particularly important to remember because this is the last year for the current bill in Annapolis before there's a further reduction. So presently, the county share is only 3.6% of the highway user revenues, and that totals about $3.4 million of revenue. And so at the end of fiscal year 28, the share will drop to 1.5% if no action is taken. And again, bear in mind, the historical average used to be 15.3% was our share. So it is a big factor, of course, at the state level, and then how that impacts us locally with the funding necessary to maintain our roads. On the expense side, there's multiple categories that are outlined. So there's general operations, road maintenance, snow removal, storm damage, traffic control, and fleet maintenance. And so by and large, we're not really requesting any major line item increases other than the standard for the wages relative to the COLAs, step, and salary decompression. So I'll turn it over to Zane. He's going to cover a few more points on the expense side.
Real quick, I'd like to thank staff for their assistance in coming up with a budget. We tried to stay conservative. Our operating was up 66,870 or 1.47%. Capital outlay was up 7.57, and over half of that, well, 73,000 is total. Half of that goes to the upgrade of software for 3 of our fueling sites. And while I'm on the fueling situation, I wanted to give you an update on what we're paying now. For tanker delivery for gas is $2.79 a gallon, $4.48 for diesel. Last year at this time, we were at $2.12 for gas and $2.36 for tanker loads of diesel fuel. So going forward, that sort of worries me a little bit, what it's going to do when we start seeing, if and when we start seeing fuel charge added to our salt deliveries, material deliveries. I don't know how long these prices keep climbing. This morning I saw gas was $4 a gallon at Sheetz on Pennsylvania Avenue and $5.60 for diesel. I've heard at places it's over $6 for diesel. Somebody told me in Virginia over the weekend. So that's not good, as that keeps climbing. It affects our overlay, blacktop prices. So with that, does anybody have any questions?
I have some unrelated questions when you're ready. Had a discussion last week with some citizens about how and why certain roads are selected over others. There's a process on, I would say, the amount of traffic and wear and tear, and we do have a process in place to make sure it's fair on the roads that we
Or you mean for overlay roads?
Yeah,
or
overlay and the chip and seal, but briefly, just for the public.
Engineering runs that program. They have a service, and I think they're updating it this year.
They're updating it this year.
Every road is driven, it's recorded, and there's matrix they use to determine.
So there's a process to determine.
Yeah, we can get pretty technical. I mean, it uses LiDAR radar detection to identify pavement condition indexes. And then there is a little bit of work then to package that for practicality purposes. So they do try to lump roads regionally together, and that's more for mobilization. So when they're in an area, not to stop a road, at a midpoint section to try to make logical connections. So there's a little bit of that, but by and large, it's mostly data-driven based upon the
It's a
pavement
third
condition
party
survey.
that does this assessment, correct? It's not county staff.
Correct.
Well, the other question I have, it's called gas tax and fees, but when it goes down to Annapolis, it's renamed highway user revenue, correct? It would be
Yeah, the highway user revenue is more or less what the state calls the money that they provide to the county. So they collect gas tax, titling, and registration fees. Yeah, so all of those things go into that, and then they distribute a share.
What I'm trying to
called
point
highway
out is
user
the
revenues.
struggle that you folks have. At one time, 2012, I think we were getting $10 to $12 million a year, and that would probably be 15 million in today's money, roughly guessing. And now we're down to 3.4 million, and it looks like next year 1.7 million. And the point I'm getting at, when we have to use our general fund to do this, this takes away from public safety and all the other programs and services that we provide our constituents. So if that fund could ever be restored, it's a benefit to small rural counties like Washington County, that money we're taking out of the general fund to do that can go to other services that we provide. The other question, how many chip and seal and paving overlay, how many miles are we doing this
I
year?
figured you were going to ask this, so I have the sheet. So again, engineering will be coming to present that contract to you. They do a chip seal contract and a pavement maintenance contract, which includes patch and overlay, mill and overlay, and crack fill. So they have the list. I believe they're going to be finalizing those on this anticipated schedule for this year. 23 miles of chip seal roads and 17 miles of HMA.
And sometimes the chip and seal bids, we only maybe receive one or two companies, is that fair
Yeah,
to say?
there are renewals, so they'll do a bid, and then they have a renewal year. I can't recall this year for each of those. But yes, for chip seal, there's normally only like two companies, two or three. And then HMA, you may get a little bit more, but it generally comes down to about three or so.
My math is right, you have 40 miles combined,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Right.
Per $1 million, how many miles does that get us paved?
So for chip seal, you will get about $40,000 per mile. And then asphalt, depending you're talking about lane mile or just road mile, it's 300,000 a mile.
950 miles of road,
Yeah.
1,900.
Yeah, it does, it works out to a long time frame. But I mean, we have made progress, and I want to, recognize the commissioners, because when there's been additional funds available, either one time or otherwise, to try to increase that amount, we can do, a little bit extra. So we've been making some strides, and to give credit to our engineering department, they really try to, time the roads correctly so that they do the right maintenance application for where it is in its, cost curve, so that we're not letting roads get too bad that they have to dump a lot of money into it. It really is trying to do the right application at the right time.
And I think we're up to 800, roughly 870 miles center line, but about 1,900 with double lanes, turn lane, out around Halfway Boulevard, you can get 6 lanes wide. Not the whole way, but you still have to.
So one of the questions I have are kind of related. This is pothole season.
Correct.
And we have a pothole program that we send staff out to, highway guys, to do that.
We do. Obviously, this winter has been terrible for that. We try to address them as they come in. Now,
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, the blacktop plant's opened last week, so we're starting to get back into being able to address some of them a little bit better.
And we know chip and seal's not the best compared to overlay, correct? But it's a way of saving that road from further deteriorating, correct?
If you can catch it right and seal up the cracks, keep that moisture, keep the water out of it, it does buy you time.
Thank you.
If you've got a good sub.
And there are questions I've been getting the past
Sure.
week, so I wanted to make sure we address that. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Zane, how many total miles?
I believe we're around 870.
Yeah, I think it's around 900 actual inventory miles, but as he says, there's a reporting for center line miles versus lane miles. So again, as he pointed out, Halfway Boulevard, if you have 4 lanes, that's lane miles versus center line miles.
Okay.
You would have, Robin Wood, any of your double lanes, but if we had 900, you're gonna be at 1,800 lanes.
For both ways.
Wow.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Good report.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you. Next up is under tab 5, FY '27 golf course budget.
Andrew Eshelman, Director of Public Works.
Ryan Crabtree, Golf Course Manager.
We're here to review the proposed FY '27 golf course budget. This year, the proposed budget is $1.65 million, which is actually a decrease from last year of about $51,000. And this is due to the fact that we funded the bunker rehabilitation project in FY '26 from an operating budget transfer to the capital budget. When you look on a line-by-line basis between the current budget compared to the prior year, again, the primary driving factor for the increases are wages and benefits for the proposed COLA, salary scale decompression, those sorts of things that are really not elective choices for the golf course itself. I want to take a little bit of time to give an overview of some things that are happening at the golf course. We continue to work on a number of course improvement projects. So I mentioned the bunker rehabilitation project. That's ongoing, and staff is working to complete bunkers that were started over the winter season to get those closed up for the growing season. We've started earthwork for the new golf training center, which will have a covered driving range area and practice facility for chipping and putting greens. We're really excited about that project, and again, it's being funded through private contributions and efforts led by the Golf Course Board. Black Rock has really become the home for the local public schools for their practice and matches and tournaments, as well as we host park and rec golf clinics, and we're also the preferred location for many tournaments and events in the area. And so the facility with the training center will really provide durable amenities and facilities for hosting all these programs. On the revenue side, I'll have Ryan touch on a few of these things later, but the golfing fees, we worked with the golf board on a fee schedule that's incorporated in this budget that does adjust up some fees depending on the round and the type and the day. There's a various schedule in there you can review. We have the Pro Shop sales, which is in the clubhouse. The restaurant, we've completed this, will be about the second full year that we've had the 19th hole, and we really appreciate that relationship. It's going well, and we are tweaking some of the tournament meal selection options and the facility fee rental if tournaments are bringing in outside food to make sure that we can continue to support both our needs as well as the tournament and the 19th hole. Under the miscellaneous, that's where the general fund appropriation is. So I'll say overall the golf course has been doing relatively well compared to the budget the past several years, and in FY26 we're about on track with where we were last year, maybe a couple percent points higher, but a little bit behind where the budget goals were for FY26. What we kind of found is we're maxed out, I would say, around 30,000 rounds, and so we're at that point more or less subject to weather. And obviously, like through the winter and those kind of things can impact how many rounds we can get in our fair weather days. So Ryan's done a good job on those good weather days to try to manage so that we can have, say, a tournament in the morning, but then open up the course for general public play in the afternoon. So in FY27, there's a general fund appropriation in here of $395,640. In our expenses, it's broken down between 4 categories: operations, clubhouse, course maintenance, and the restaurant. And I'll turn it over to Ryan to talk a little bit about the operation and some of the things we have going on at the golf course.
Yeah, so in calendar year 2025, Black Rock had 30,912 total rounds. In 2026, Black Rock to WCPS, it's a great way to build our future customers, hosting 4 to 6 9-hole matches. We'll host 3 18-hole matches with the CMC Conference Championship, the Maryland District Championship, and the Washington County High School Championships. As Andrew said, through the rec department, we host the junior golf clinic. We have one in the spring and the fall. That's anywhere from 14 to 16 participants. We also host the Black Rock Junior Golf Series in July. Franklin County Junior Golf Tour plays a couple times throughout the year, and the same with the Under Armour Junior Golf Tour. 2026 Tuesday Morning Senior League stayed pretty consistent from 2025. We have 112 participants, and that starts the first Tuesday in April. We have evening leagues, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday evenings. They consist of Potomac Edison, Mac Volvo, the Elks Club, Antietam Brewery, and our Black Rock Ladies League. We have 2 scheduled Veterans Golf Association events this year, and then we have multiple handfuls of various outside group outings. Another year of the Cardinal Classic, which is Catholic University out of DC. They will host a 2-weekend tournament, one in the fall and one in the spring. In total, in 2026, we plan to have 31 tournaments. And then the 19th hole at Black Rock has been a great asset to the golf course. If you haven't been out to try the food in the 2 years she's been open, I would recommend to come out and check it out. So that's all I have.
Okay. Comments, questions?
Just to show the growth, and let's just guess back to, we're going to do a guess here. Early 20, 22, 23, what was the rounds of golf approximately?
Well, that was post-COVID, so we were starting to climb up, but I think, 2018, 19, we're around like 19,000 rounds, 18,000 rounds.
And so that shows some growth to me if you were 19,000 rounds there and you're 31,000 almost now. So it's grown, but you're capping out, that's pretty much all you can handle, about 31 or so?
Yeah, I mean, what Andrew said, I mean, we had 42 days this winter where we had snow on the ground. So if you can gain rounds in the winter, but in our open days, we're anywhere from 150 to 200 rounds. Like this past Sunday, we were slam open to close, we did 180 rounds. So, I mean, people are getting the itch because they were stuck inside pretty much, it seemed, all winter for 3 or 4 months, so. But yeah, it's all weather-based. I mean, I think we could get to 35,000, but you gotta have a fair winter.
Yeah, gotcha, thank you.
Thank you.
Ryan, your driving range that's under construction, how many positions are there?
So there's gonna be around 6 that are gonna be undercover, and then 7 or 8 out. So it's like 50 feet undercover, and then there's 50 feet not covered. And then there's gonna be 3 mats between that, because there's a little bit of contour in the ground.
Gotcha.
So we're gonna have 3 individual mats there. So realistically, 10 to 12 people at a time can hit.
Yeah, perfect.
Okay. Anything else? Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, under tab 6, is the FY27 airport budget.
Andrew Eschwin, Director of Public Works.
Neil Doran, Airport Director.
We're here to discuss the proposed FY27 airport operating budget. Again, the airport is an enterprise fund, and this year's $4,882,180 budget does not have any general fund support. The airport budget is increasing $856,350 compared to FY26. And Neil will cover this a little bit more, but the majority of this growth in the FY27 budget is attributed to standby aircraft rescue and firefighting services due to Sierra Nevada growth in demand. And these are services that we have an arrangement that we can bill for, and on track for the current year may reach about $1 million. So it's been a huge driver of the increase. And also, we'll hear, later on a request for staffing to help support those operations. So again, there's a matching that goes on between revenue and expenses. And so in this case, it's really the increase is largely demand driven by Sierra Nevada and demand for those services, and therefore the cost to support that from a staffing standpoint. The second point, while we're here to talk about the operating budget, it's important to understand there's a link in the airport budget between operating and capital. So we spent a lot of time talking about, we could spend a lot of time talking about projects. We have a lot going on. But what you'll see in there is there's a $582,000 appropriation from the operating budget to the capital budget. So that goes then to support non-grant eligible projects that the airport does, as well as serve as a match to other projects where we do have federal state grant assistance. So we have a lot going on the capital side, and some of that I'd say a lot of that is also driven by, this is the last fiscal year, federal fiscal year for Infrastructure and Job Act funded projects. So the airport received an allocation of, I believe, about $5 million or so in funds to complete those projects. And so we're trying to wrap those up, which does require the matching component. So that'll then hopefully lead to a transition period when those projects are done. We get to kind of quote a more normal pace of doing capital work. We still have a lot of needs out there. So then what we're trying to do from an operating standpoint is make sure that we are borrowing against our fund balance reserve to complete those projects, but we get to a point where the annual rates and fees that we have in the budget for the airport operating budget support what we need to be self-supporting in future years. And so I think that's important to kind of recognize we're in this period. We have a lot going on, and we're trying to get that complete to take advantage of the money that's available, but then get to a nice balance point where what we have coming in is supporting what's going out. I'll turn over to Neil to talk about some of the high points within the operating budget.
We're expecting revenue enhancements related, as mentioned, to the aircraft rescue firefighting standby service fees. We're also selling more jet fuel, so we have associated fuel flowage fees, increases in aircraft de-icing, advertising, and snack bar sales. We expect increases in a corporate hangar lease to come online, and a proposed increase in our terminal parking fees as well we're proposing. And on the expense side, we have expanded staff hours to support airline operations and the firefighting services. We have some incremental growth in our staff count to support these operational needs. Of course, employee salaries and benefits, and the generally increasing costs for things like insurance. We had a big year-over-year increase in our insurance costs, and for building and equipment maintenance as well. Fiscal year 27 includes 7 projects on the capital side, so we're really leveraging federal and state funding. About $15 million in projects we'll be able to do. So that speaks to that large appropriation that we need to ask for. Like other commercial airports, it's important that we remain self-supporting and that we have the fees that help us to do that, to continue our service delivery. And just as a reminder, what that means is we remain certified under Part 139 regulations, TSA certifications. We provide large-scale snow removal, crash fire rescue, airfield maintenance, and then those aeronautical services to the airlines and to general aviation customers at the airport. We feel we've been conservative. We're likely underestimating some of the revenues on the airline side because it's hard to predict exactly what the airline schedule will do. But hopefully we'll get more flights than we based our budget on, and then we'll have a bit more revenue to work with as well. We've also been conservative in trying to estimate on the high side for our expenses. The contributions of the County Commission, we want to just thank you all. It's really feels good to observe your consistent support. It's paying dividends in the community, and we'll continue to support that beneficial economic impact. Good paying jobs at the airport, at employers like SNC. That job count is increasing, and as the airport continues to grow, we will maintain a top 3 position in Maryland by our overall annual economic impact as well. So just wanted to say thank you once again for all the help and support you've provided in our period of growth.
I just have a couple of things. I wanted to point out that there is a public hearing scheduled for April the 28th to seek approval for airport rate increases. I do believe that we had originally been granted $1.5 million for replacement air traffic control tower in the state's, in the governor's budget. That was cut to $750,000. That hasn't been restored yet, has it, to 1.5?
I had communication from Senator Quarterman that the subcommittee had decided to leave it at the 1.5.
They have, okay, that's good news. Okay, so how many years have you been asking the FAA to replace the air traffic control tower?
Well, as far back as I can find records, it's been about 25 years. I found letters 25 years ago begging for it. Even
Similar to I-81, when we have transportation priorities, we ask the federal government as well as the state government to fund those transportation priorities. Is that correct?
Correct. And in this case, we've also pursued both avenues, the federal route, so Neil can talk more about that. Just recently made an effort for congressional directed spending, also known as earmarks, grant programs, but we just find ourselves essentially at the bottom of the list with the FAA. So we're trying to do all that we can to pursue every opportunity to get funding for that. So both state and federal.
Rough estimate, a tower would cost what?
Latest estimate is $15 million.
So we have 1.5 million for a study or drawings, is that what that would be earmarked for?
Construction documents. So an updated siting study is actually near completion, so we received a Maryland Aviation grant for that, and the county was paying for the local 25% share. So that gets us to about 30% plans, so there's actually schematics and everything. The additional state funding would more or less move you all the way through construction documents that you could bid something. So again, and whatever wouldn't be used for that would be seed money or match money for construction that we would want to roll over.
Yeah,
15 million.
Even just the equipment in the tower will cost $1 million, for instance. So if there are any leftover dollars, we can use for that once we've got the structure built.
So Sierra Nevada is driving a lot of this under, and that's a pretty long contract with the military, correct?
Yes, I think they've got 10, 12 years of work, and then they continue to seek new contracts that we haven't even heard about yet. That could
And
be still other.
I see an increased military traffic. Does that make demands on our rescue and firefighters too? That makes demands, doesn't it?
It does, because the military firefighting standards are so high in terms of the number of fire trucks and the number of firefighters we have to have immediately available.
And last but not least, you want to tout your new billboard?
Yeah, we have an I-81 billboard, and we've been letting our on-premise tenants know that there's a possibility we can do a digital advertising package. It's 30,000 motorists in each direction there on I-81 at that location. So you may see a slide about Allegiant Airlines or maybe another tenant at the airport.
Again, I'd like to thank Jonathan Horowitz actually gave us the heads up opportunity for the grant funding for that. That was 100% state funding through an economic development grant. So again, the airport and the county had no money in that effort other than our grant writing and project management to take advantage of that opportunity.
And then I also wanted to point out, Andrew mentioned this just briefly, there are 2 items on the agenda later in our meeting today that, if approved, may require some amendments to this 27 proposed budget.
Neil, what's the status of our crash truck?
We are going through that third-party inspection to make sure the truck is just right, and small minor things that they have noted are corrected before we make a purchase.
Okay.
So that's moving ahead. Shouldn't be too much longer.
And one more item, the passenger bridge and its repair.
Yes, we are pulling together cost estimates from the passenger boarding bridge company, structural engineers. They're looking at the north face of the terminal wall and that sort of thing.
Okay.
Insurance is involved, but we're wrapping our arms around, what it will take to restore the bridge. There's some lead time in order to receive the component parts we need, which will mean it will likely be a period of 4 or more months before we can effect a repair. I'm glad the weather's good. This didn't happen in the winter, and we apologize for our customers that have to walk outdoors now in that short walk from the aircraft to the building. We hope to restore the passenger bridge as soon as we can.
Thank you.
Okay, any other?
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Okay, next item under tab 7, Sole Source Procurement Award, PUR 1808, for medical supplies for ambulance companies and the Department of Emergency Services.
Good morning, Brandy Kentner, Director of Procurement.
David Chisholm, Deputy Director of Emergency Services.
The first recommendation I have for you this morning is the sole source procurement, PUR 1808. Motion to approve the sole source procurement to Meritus Medical Center for supplying medical supplies to the Washington County Fire and EMS companies on an as-need basis. The division has an agreement with Meritus Medical Center to provide patient care supplies and pharmaceuticals for the use for pre-hospital clinicians within Washington County. Meritus's purchasing power provides the best pricing for these items used in patient care, thus providing significant savings for the county. These supplies are distributed to the fire and EMS companies through Paxis machines located at the Meritus Medical Facility. Supplies and pharmaceuticals distributed are tracked by the Paxis system, and a division is billed monthly. Items not available from Meritus are purchased from other medical supply companies and placed in a county's UCAPIT machine, which is also located at Meritus. The Department of Emergency Services wishes to apply sections 1 through 106.2A and 1 to the Code of Public Laws of Washington County, Maryland, to the procurement requested. This section states that a sole source procurement is authorized and permissible when only one source exists that meets the county's requirement. This request requires 4 out of 5 commissioners to proceed. There is funding available in the department's operating budget for these services.
How about 4 out of 4?
That's why I looked up.
Motion to approve.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for approval as submitted. Ready to vote? All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
4-0, thank you. Next item under tab 8, intergovernmental cooperative purchase 26-0227 for the medical supplies for ambulance companies and the Department of Emergency Services.
Randy Kentner, Director of Purchasing.
David Chisholm, Deputy Director of Emergency Services.
The next recommendation I have for you is the intergovernmental cooperative purchase, INTG-26-0227. Move to authorize by resolution for the Washington County Department of Emergency Services to utilize the Charles County contract awarded to Boundtree Medical out of Dublin, Ohio, to purchase supplies to stock the county fire and EMS units and to provide stock for the emergency services staff on an as-needed basis, not to exceed the budget of approximately $100,000. The division routinely purchases patient care supplies not available from Meritus Medical from Boundtree. Boundtree Medical provides the lowest prices that we found for a backup from Meritus Medical. The supplies are used by the Division of Emergency Services Companies personnel throughout Washington County. Items used by the companies are distributed to the companies by division staff or placed in a division supply machine located at Meritus. In addition to these supplies, the division purchases of equipment and supplies there are additional supplies purchased for division EMS supervisors and staff vehicles. The Code of Public Local Law of Washington County provides that the Board of County Commissioners may procure goods and services through a contract entered into by another government entity as long as we abide by the same terms and conditions of that contract. Funding is available in the department's operating budget for these services.
Motion to approve.
Second. Okay, we have a motion and a second for approval as submitted. All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, 4-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, David. Next item under tab 9 is contract renewal 1696 Oracle Products and Services for Information Technology Department.
Randy Kentner, Director of Purchasing.
Josh O'Neill, CTO Information Systems.
The next recommendation is the contract renewal, PUR 1696. Move to renew the contract for Oracle Products and Services for the Department of Information Technologies with Mythix LLC out of Virginia Beach, Virginia, based on its quote in the amount of $377,106.15. This approval is also contingent on the approval of the FY27 budget. The services under this contract provides cloud services, which consist of planning and budgeting, financials, purchasing, fusion transactional business intelligence, self-service procurement, human capital management, payroll, and time and labor. The cloud-based applications are suites that can help business streamline operations, automated processes, and make data-driven decisions. This contract will run from July 15, 2026 to July 14, 2027. And there is funding available in the department's operating budget for this service.
Motion, discussion?
Motion to approve. Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for approval as submitted. All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 4-0. Thank you. Next item under tab 10 is contract award 1640 radio subscription services.
Randy Kentner, Director of Purchasing.
Tom Weber, Deputy Director of Wireless Communications.
The next recommendation is the contract award PUR 1640. Motion to authorize the Wireless Communications Department to utilize the Communication Systems and Services sole source contract PUR 1640 with Motorola for the purchase of radio subscription services from Motorola Solutions out of Linthicum, Maryland, for a total sum of $516,650 based on a 3-year contract proposal received. As part of the Fire EMS portable radio upgrades and into an effort to ease the administration of 1,005 radios, the Washington County Radio Committee requested from Motorola convenient and safety-related radio services. These included Cloud Management Radio Central, remote programming, and radio operation over LTE. These services were complimentary for the initial deployment and now require an annual subscription from Motorola to maintain this operation. Motorola has offered extended pricing based on the discounts given under PUR 1640 for a period of 3 years based on their proposal. Funding is available in the wireless communications operating budget for this purchase.
So basically, they give you a free trial, then charge you.
Kind of like a cell phone company.
That's, yeah. Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for approval as submitted. All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you. Next item under tab 11 is amendment, intergovernmental cooperative purchase 23-0113, inmate phone services, inmate tablet, inmate visitation, and inmate mail processing services, Prince William County contract.
Randy Kittner, Director of Purchasing.
Major Craig Rowe, Warden, Detention Center.
The last recommendation is amendment to the intergovernmental cooperative purchase, INTG 23-0113. Move to approve the amendment to the intergovernmental contract that was originally awarded by the board on February 28, 2023 to Global Tech Link, doing business as Viatech out of Falls Church, Virginia, for inmate phone, tablet, visitation, and mail services at the Washington County Detention Center. We are requesting approval to comply with the Federal Communications Commission's November 6, 2025 report and order, which implements the Martha Wright Reed Act that officially bans commission-based compensation to correctional facilities or premises provided for incarcerated people's communication services. This is a revenue-generating service, and there is no cost to the county.
Discussion, questions?
I didn't quite understand it, so that's, yeah, just to briefly, Major, can you explain that to me? It's so, there's a rider, but for inmates, tablets and phones, et cetera, and it wasn't allowed, but now it is, or?
Okay, so prior to this FCC ruling, correctional facilities could get commissions from the companies that provide these services. We were getting, for Washington County, 68% of the phone call commission that went directly into the inmate welfare fund to be used directly for the inmates. They've ruled in this FCC ruling that commissions can no longer be paid off of phone calls or off of visitations. And so we have to amend this contract to comply with that law.
Okay, gotcha.
Good.
Mandated.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for approval as submitted. All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, 4-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item under tab 12, contract award 1753, liquid roof coating system at the Washington County Transit Department.
Good morning, Karen Baker, buyer in the Office of Procurement.
Good morning, Sean Harbaugh, Transit Director.
The recommendation we have today is contract award PUR 1753. Move to award the contract for the liquid roof coating system at the Washington County Transit Department to the responsible bidder, For State Contracting LLC of Hagerstown, Maryland, for the total sum price of $71,850, contingent upon the approval of the budget transfer request of $9,450 from the Transit Capital Fund reserves to the Transit CIP Project BLD 009. These services will provide the application of a liquid roof coating system on an approximately 10,500 square foot existing metal roof and an approximately 4,800 square foot ethylene propylene DN monomer roof located at 1000 West Washington Street, Hagerstown, Maryland. On January 21st, 2026, the county issued an invitation to bid for the subject services. The bid was listed on the state's eMaryland Marketplace Advantage website and on the county's new online bidding site. There were 25 vendors who accessed the bid document online. 9 bids were received as indicated on the bid tabulation matrix. Funding is available in the department's CIP account BLD 009 to cover the costs of the project. And we are looking for 2 separate votes, one for the procurement and one for the budget adjustment.
Motion to approve the procurement.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion second for procurement. All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Good.
Motion to approve the assignment.
The budget adjustment.
Budget adjustment, yeah.
Okay. We have a motion.
Second.
For budget.
Motion and second for budget adjustment. All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Next item under your tab 13, fiscal year 2027 annual transit grant application, approval to apply for and accept funding as awarded for the annual MDOT / MTA grant.
Good morning, Karsten Aron, Senior Grant Manager, Office of Grant Management.
Good morning again, Sean Harbaugh, Transit Director.
We request a motion and approval for the application and accepting funding for the award for the annual MDOT MTA grant. Washington County Transit annually applies for the Maryland Department of Transportation and Maryland Transit Administration for federal and state operational and capital grant funding through the Annual Transportation Plan, or ATP. The grant funds are used to operate transportation programs within Washington County, which include the Section 5307 Public Transportation Fixed Route Transit, the American Disabilities Act, Complementary Paratransit Program, the Jobs Opportunity Bus Shuttle, the statewide Special Transportation Assistance Program, also known as Rider Assist Voucher Program. The fiscal year 2027 application request $1,525,784 in state and federal funds from MTA and the Federal Transit Administration to subsidize the transit system at current levels of service. There is a local commitment to the fiscal impact for the total anticipated funding of $1,887,478.
Any discussions, questions? Motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and second for approval as submitted. All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item under tab 14, 2026 housing bond allocation transfer.
Good morning, Commissioners. Jennifer Kinzer, Interim Director, Department of Planning and Zoning. As already stated, I'm here this morning for the 2026 Housing Bond Allocation Transfer. Each year, the state of Maryland uses pooled resources from different federal loan programs to issue statewide housing bonds. Funds from the bond sale are used to support home ownership for first-time home buyers through the Maryland Mortgage Program and for rental assistance programs. The bond allocation is then broken down into county allocations based on population. This is not a set monetary distribution. It varies from year to year. The limit is set by the state for each county to pursue their own housing lending program if they so choose. The state has invited the county to transfer its 2026 housing bond allocation of $7,429,023 to the Department of Housing and Community Development. The funds will then be used to support the Maryland Mortgage Program as well as various rental assistance programs. The county has the option of transferring the funds back to the state to manage the loan and rental assistance programs or to administer the funds themselves. Due to the significant resources needed to administer such a program, Washington County has historically transferred the funds back to the state. So I'm here today to get a recommendation to approve and transfer the funds for Washington County's 2026 housing bond allocation, again in the amount of $7,429,023 to the Department of Housing and Community Development for use in issuing housing bonds on behalf of Washington County.
So basically, we've always had this opportunity, and we've always taken this opportunity, and this is not the first time we've ever done this.
Correct. We've always transferred it back to the state. The only county that self-administers is Montgomery County.
And we don't lose any of that money.
No, actually, last year, we got more money in local assistance than we would have gotten if we would have administered it ourselves.
Very good.
So on the ARF, she actually has some statistics on there that Maryland Department of Housing and Community Development reports that purchasing activity in Washington County for 2025 were 98 units totaling $27.4 million. And so far in 2026, 69 units for $19 million.
Correct.
Right, okay.
So it's beneficial.
Motion to approve.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for approval. As submitted, all in favor by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Next item, under tab 15, Maryland Judiciary Mediation and Conflict Resolution Office approval to apply for and accept grant award.
Good morning. Richard Lesh, Grant Manager, Office of Grant Management.
Good morning. Mark Singer, Court Administrator.
Good morning. Deborah Cook, Family Magistrate.
Today we're here requesting a motion to approve the application and acceptance of funds in the amount of $108,600 and accept for a circuit court in-house domestic mediation program and accept the funds as awarded. The Mediation and Conflict Resolution Office seeks to support conflict resolution programs or projects which develop, improve, and expand access to high-quality alternative dispute resolution services within Maryland circuit courts. Currently, self-represented litigants and low-income litigants are failing to appear at private-ordered mediations due to the cost, resulting in frequent no-shows and lack of alternative dispute resolution services. The Washington County Circuit Court is trying to reduce these issues by providing for court-funded mediation to self-represented and low-income litigants, either specially scheduled or within the courthouse on the day of trial. The Office of Grant Management has reviewed the grant funding guidelines, and there's no unusual conditions or requirements attached to the acceptance of this grant.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for approval as submitted. All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item under tab 16 is FY27 School-Based Health Center Grant Approval to submit application and accept awarded funding.
Richard Lesh, Grant Manager, Office of Grant Management. I'm here to request a motion to approve the submission of the grant application for the fiscal year 2027 School-Based Health Center Grant Program to the Maryland State Department of Health in the amount of $317,957 and accept the funding as awarded. There are two school-based health centers in Washington County which are located at South Hagerstown High School and Western Heights Middle School. The centers provide exams, prescriptions, nutritional assessments, orders, lab work, and assist in management of chronic conditions such as asthma and diabetes. Meritus Health is the clinical provider contracted to provide these services. The local management board has approved the submission of the proposal and recommends the acceptance of this award. Funding in the amount of $12,524 is included in the award for county administrative support.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for approval as submitted. All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item under tab 17 is Airport Station Leader.
Good morning, Chip Rose, Director of Human Resources.
Neil Doran, Airport Director.
Staff is seeking approval to provide a market adjustment for Tina Smith, our current airline station leader, effective March 1st, 2026. The adjustment would change Tina's job title from airline station leader to airline station manager and move her to a grade 10, step 8 at a salary of $30.81 per hour. These changes are more comparable to roles in similarly sized airports. The operational and logistical scope of the Hagerstown Regional Airport has grown over the past 3 years, and that growth rate is on a steady trajectory for the next 10. As an example, flight operations provided support for 88 flights in 2023 and 320 flights in 2025. The revenue line was $2.18 million for fiscal year 2023 and $4.3 million for 2025. Tina's responsibilities within the scope of her job description have doubled in the past few years, but the responsibilities that she has voluntarily picked up are immeasurable. She manages airline station operations for Allegiant. She interviews, schedules, and trains the new hires. She oversees sales and services for the snack bar, and she provides excellent customer service for our passengers. The fiscal impact is $7.16 per hour, which is $14.892 before taxes. She's currently a grade 8, step 2.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have one clarification. I think there's a typo in the agenda report form. It says that her hourly rate is $31.11. It's actually $30.81, which equates to $64,085 annually.
Okay, amend that motion to the adjustments made.
And I second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second amended. Just like say Tina does a fantastic job.
She really does. I hear that every day.
Her customer service is phenomenal, and the people at Allegiant love her. So, we have a motion and a second for approval as submitted. All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. 4-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks to Tina and all her hard work. Next item under tab 18, airport firefighting staffing request.
Rose, Director of Human Resources.
Neil Doran, Airport Director.
Andrew Ashwin, Director of Public Works. I'll lead things.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Take it.
Staff is seeking approval to staff 2 additional full-time positions and 3 additional part-time positions, all of which are aircraft rescue and firefighting/maintenance, or ARF, positions. One of our largest customers, Sierra Nevada, has just signed multiple contracts worth over $1 billion. Hagerstown Regional Airport will play a major role in the services of those contracts, provided that we can support their increased operations and flight testing program. The new contracts will require support for larger, faster jet models, specifically the Bombardier Global 6500 aircraft, which requires 6 firefighters on duty during operations. At our current staffing levels, the airport cannot provide these standby services without adding staff and renegotiating rates for extended levels of support. The Sierra Nevada company provides Hagerstown Regional Airport with a memorandum of agreement, for ARF support that spells out the staffing requirements, billable rates, and overtime rates. The addition of these 5 positions will bring Hagerstown Regional Airport into compliance with S&C's MOU. The fiscal impact, the goal is a cost-neutral outcome that covers the personnel and equipment costs. And we have Andrew and Neil here to answer any questions you might have about the rates or the staffing level.
So basically, we discussed this in your presentation. If Sierra Nevada's contracts would go away, we would have a force in effect to start adjusting our staff, correct?
Correct. So there's 2 parts to the request. One is to get your blessing to be able to add the requested positions. And again, the part-time is the preference that's operating a pool. But just because of the timing that they're doing a lot of these flights, the full-time staff give us the security and the certainty to be able to fill those slots. And so then part 2 of that is looking at the existing agreement, which we've already had in place. But again, it harkens back to when we were doing $50,000 of billable services a year. And so talking about things like termination clauses and things that would be in our interest to help support that in the event that a contract was canceled, or we needed to look at, other opportunities for employees, whether it's through DES or something at the airport, so that we're not left hanging. But so yes, the idea is that we would bring these positions on. They would more or less help support the S&C standby, and that we could, again, through updating that agreement, make it so that we cover our costs and protect any interest long term.
Okay.
I've got a comment that I've watched Sierra Nevada's nighttime operations, and that seems to be the norm for them now.
Yeah, they experience less congestion at night, so I think that's a preference, that they fly around at night rather than during the day.
Yeah.
But that's been a strain on the staff, as you can imagine, because it's become thousands of hours a year that need to be covered.
Gotcha.
So this, again, I won't say this would be the end. I think this is a starting point to see how it goes, because we're talking about, again, bringing more people on, trying to fine tune the schedule, because the the standby services, it's not like that's published a year in advance. These things can vary daily, and so to have the flexibility is important. So again, this is a starting point, not to say if things go well and we kind of feel out the numbers a little bit better, that we're not back, asking for an additional position or more in the future as we kind of gauge where this goes.
And I also want to point out that if Sierra Nevada's contracts decrease and the staffing is not needed, we would then eliminate positions through attrition where possible.
While it is a strain, the additional hours after hours are more higher billable. So it's $40 an hour for regular hours and $85 an hour for extended hours.
I think it's also important to recognize that Sierra Nevada's clients aren't just the United States. They're international. Significant business.
So you're seeking a motion for the first motion to approval to additional 2 full-time aircraft rescue and firefighting and maintenance people, correct?
2 full-time and 3 part-time, yes, sir.
That's your first motion?
Yes.
My motion to approve.
We have a motion, we have a second. Ready to vote? All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, 4-0.
And second motion?
Second motion for the 3 part-time firefighters.
3 part-time firefighters, yeah. And we're being conservative there, it sounds like, just to sort of edge into it.
Get it started, that's correct.
Yeah. Okay, motion for the 3 part-time firefighters.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, ready to vote? All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, 4-0. Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Next item is under tab 19, Boards and Commissions. Historic District Commission and Historical Advisory Committee proposed merger and bylaws amendment.
Good morning, Commissioners. Megan Jenkins, GIS Coordinator and Historic Preservation Planner with the Department of Planning and Zoning.
Jennifer Kinzer, Interim Director, Department of Planning and Zoning.
So staff has proposed merging the Historic District Commission and the Historic Advisory Committee into a singular group focused on local historic preservation activities and opportunities within the county. This would be accomplished through merging the active membership of the Historic Advisory Committee into the Historic District Commission. There is existing overlap in duties of the Historic Advisory Committee with both the Historic District Commission and other existing independent historic groups in the county. Merging the 2 bodies would help provide a singular united voice and contact point for historic preservation within county government. Membership of the Historic Advisory Committee has a very committed core group. However, they are unable to consistently meet quorums. There are also 3 recent vacancies on the Historic Advisory Committee. By merging membership into the Historic District Commission, there will be a single pool of people for historic preservation participation and continuity of membership during turnover periods with the Historic District Commission. Staff recommends adding 3 non-voting members to the HDC that can be drawn from the existing active Historic Advisory Committee. Staff would also like to note that there will be an additional 2 voting members leaving the HDC due to term expirations in June of 2026. That will provide an opportunity for a total of 5 openings for those interested in participating in historic preservation in the county should this merger proceed. The John Fryer Awards would transfer, as written in the existing Historic Advisory Committee bylaws, over to the Historic District Commission bylaws, and the awards would fall under the budget of the Department of Planning and Zoning. The Historic District Commission would recommend nominees to the BOCC for selection, which is consistent with the process currently in place. So again, the recommended motion for this is move to accept and/or make changes to the amended bylaws that you've been presented with of the Historic District Commission, and to merge the Historic Advisory Committee into the HDC. These changes would become effective on July 1st of 2026.
I have a question.
Sure.
And correct me if I have it backwards. But the Historic District Commission is recommended or mandated by the state. Is that correct?
So the Historic District Commission is in our zoning ordinance,
Yes,
and they
that's what I'm getting at.
have approval or denial authority for many of the.
Therefore, why the advisory commission, it's not sliding advisory commission, it's because it's in our ordinance that we're.
Yes, the
blending it in.
Historic District Commission
Yes,
is
okay.
the body that is
That's what I
recognized
wanted to
by
make
the
sure that we're
Certified
not-
Local Government Program through
We're
the
not sliding
state.
that other group or anything because we're.
No,
But that's
absolutely not.
why the process says to do it that way.
Correct.
Thank you very much. Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for approval. Ready to vote? All in favor by saying aye.
Aye. Very good. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Well, that brings us to the end of the regular agenda. I'm seeking a motion to go into closed session for the reasons stated.
Motion to go into closed session?
Second. Motion is second. All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, 4-0. Let's take a 5-minute recess.